Yo yo, it's Show. Welcome back to my YouTube video. And you see my mug. Today I got some tea. We are gonna be talking about toxic relationships. I'm doing my lyric breakdown, but two differences. We're gonna do two songs, and I'm not gonna do a word for word lyric breakdown like I normally do. So let's get started. Hold on. There you go. Here we go. Now we start with torn. We're gonna start with, I put down manipulation because there is a keyword and factor into like one verse. So in torn, it's, you take all of the light away, but you bring me fireworks. I want to leave night and day, but you always find the words. So, I don't know if anybody's ever been in a toxic relationship where their significant other is a trash person, and whenever you try to even break up with them, they always find a way to convince you to stay, and you believe it, not because you're stupid, but because you know what they're doing is like gaslighting. But then it's like, what do? Maybe just somewhere in your mind you're thinking, oh, like but there must be something to fight for. I couldn't just easily leave. So then this meant nothing if I had to leave. In burn, it says just gonna stand there. And burn is more violent. Torn is just about like how a toxic relationship happens. And burn is toxic too, but there is some violent elements into it. Just gonna stand there and watch me burn. That's alright. I like the way it hurts. Just gonna stand there and hear me cry. That's alright. I like the way you lie. I love the way you lie. So, breaking that down, it's the same thing with manipulation. It's like, you know what? Stand there and watch me burn. The music video is quite literal and you can see the person burning, but it's also a figurative speech where you're just like, you just like when I'm hurt and you like to hear me cry, but that's okay because I love the way you lie. Obviously, no one actually really likes their significant other lying, but it's just another excuse to be like, well, he said, anything to try to stay with this person because you just can't come to terms with the fact that they are a trash person. Now we're going back to torn. I put contagious, love and hate me. Boy, you're contagious. Something with boy, you're contagious. You love and hate me. The way you rock my body. You set the rain on fire. I wish my lows were higher. Wish our lows were higher. Wish I could stop to save me. This person is very aware of the way they are being treated. However, they like throughout her song in Torn, she's trying to talk about like she just wants to find an excuse. I had this friend who was in this toxic relationship, and she legit would tell us she knew how his gaslighting thing that he was doing with her. Despite all of that, what she dead ass looked us in the eyes and said the only way that she was really gonna be done with him is if he cheated on him. And that's just another like, prime example of like, I just need to find something. And I just haven't found it yet, even though there's 50 million things that he's done already where you should say, boy, bye. But that is the one thing that you're specifically looking for that you're like, no. And even then, your friend's telling you this, you're not even sure after all that if he could be gaslighting her and being like, staying with him despite even catching him cheating on her. He never cheated on her, but it was like, I wonder how that would work because she says that, and then who knows if she would have left him despite even that. So, and now we're going back to Groom. What it really is feels like steel knife through my windpipe. Can't breathe, but I still fight. He was singing something about suffocating. I didn't put that down, to be honest. And the wrong feels right. It feels like I'm in flight. Again, it's like that. People like to paint Harley Quinn is a perfect example of this, where she lets the Joker treat her like crap. He's done some terrible things to her. They try to paint her as this person who's really, like, a huge, like, masochist. But you could argue that, because in a way she shows that, but also not really. Like, this woman is a victim of abuse from the Joker, and she's hurt. She denies it. But it feels so right to her. Her relationship with the Joker feels so right to her. And she feels like that's exactly, like, I feel like I'm in a flight. Like, it's perfect, but it's not. Love drunk from hate. It feels like I'm huffing paint. Love is suffering. Oh yeah, I did write it down, but it was just later on. Drowning, but then she resuscitates me. And it goes from, you know how in Torn it was talking about, and then in Torn it's like run away, crawling into your arms, and in Burn we go back to running right back, here we go again. Like, there's a parallel between those two lines now, where in the beginning it was the manipulation thing. It's just like I'm always coming back for more. I'm always coming, and I had the same friend that I was talking about earlier, where she described he wasn't consistently violent, but he had violent tendencies, and there was a point where she talked about pushing him, like he pushed her, and she's like, it makes me wonder if what's next. Like, what else can he do? And I asked her, I was like, well, do you really want to stick around to find out? Because I wouldn't. I'm like, well, that's it for me. No cheating. But like, whatever her situation is. But she even said to me, no. Yet, after that conversation, she's still stuck with him. But it was because he was a manipulative, gaslighting fuck. But, yes. That's the thing, though. People will take advantage of how much you love a person. They know how much you feel for them, that they can feel like they can get away with anything. The worst part is, though, that you're completely aware of what they're doing, and yet somehow you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. So then we go back to Torn, and it's like, oh, it's like we're starting drama every day, but you know that's my favorite part. But it really isn't, but you would convince yourself that, oh, this is a thing that we do with each other, but it's not. It's not good at all. It's very toxic. Book, our book is Torn, which is like a parallel to the song. It's like a beautiful tragedy. I forgot what the term is in English. I should know because I'm a English nerd besides music, but in the arts and everything, but I forgot what that term was. But it's like pretty ugly, you know? There was a term for it where they describe something where it's two opposites together. Pretty ugly, beautiful tragedy, like that's exactly what a toxic relationship is. You love and you hate. And it's ridiculous. And Byrne just says, you're the Superman. I'm the Superman to her Lois Lane. More of like a Joker to her Harley Quinn, because that ain't right. But the way that they feel about each other, that they should be together, is them feeling like they're Superman to Lois Lane. You know, like I'm the Jim to her Pam, or whatever non-toxic couple you think you are. There was a thing in Burn where it's like, where are you? There's a conversation between the two where he says, "Where are you going?" And she says, "I'm leaving you." And he's like, "No, you ain't. Come back." And then there's another one where he snaps. Who's that dude? There comes the jealousy. I laid hands on her, physical violence. I'll never stoop so low again. I guess I don't know my own strength. But he says again, but how many times has he says this? And they even make it a purpose in the second, where in the third last rap, they're talking about how a tornado meets a volcano, where I put two hotheads just not working. They're clashing together, but also it's really violent. It's toxic because it's not just him hurting her, she's hurting him too. Because they talk about, like, in the second rap, like the second part of the rap it talks about how when you first meet someone, you get those butterflies and everything, and now here we are, now you're in each other's face. You swear you never heard him, never do nothing to her, and now you're in each other's face. I can't, because I didn't write down the whole thing because it was really long. But point is, like, the spark is lost, but not only is it lost, it's just out of control. There's even a part where he says, like, many times, yesterday, today is a different day, you don't get a next time, life is not a Nintendo game. I mean, there's so many, like, similar, like, different ways that he put the verses, but it was the same, where it's like, it showed, like, in that kind of toxic relationship where your spouse just not only tries to convince you and gaslight you into believing that you should stay with them, but, like, they'll really believe that they'll just be able to stop without any therapy or any help, and that just woke them up, that they saw that their spouse was hurt from them hurting them, but then they go on and do the same thing over and over again, and the cycle repeats, which is what happened with my friend. This is like the third time I mentioned, but, like, that's literally what would happen. They would make up, and then already it's only about time before already it's like breaking a new record. He already did something new to hurt her, and she got upset about it, and she argued with him, and then he's like, what the heck, like, why can't you trust me? And then it was just that mental manipulation all over again, back to round one, just nothing changing, thinking that things would. There's even this part where it's violent, though, where he's like, if you ever try to leave again, I will cuff you to the bed, or something like that. It was so crazy. These lyrics are, like, crazy. Eminem has a way of being too real with people. I've already established this, about how much, in the last lyric, like, how much I'm obsessed with Ava Max lyrics. And Eminem's too, and Rihanna's just queen. Like, everybody, hers was a little bit more lighter to the situation, but not really. It's still giving a message that, you know what, this is a type of relationship that is not worth it. Where it was more of like, you love me, you hate me, but it got a little deeper with Eminem's, but yeah. But that still doesn't make it any less brutal with Eminem, because it still gives that same vibe. Because it's like setting rain to fire, and the manipulation and all that stuff. Like, it may not go more into detail, which Eminem did it, but it's there. And she doesn't feel safe. Like she says, like, I wish I could stop to save me. No one would say that unless it got like really bad. Which any kind of relationship, it's always really bad. Even if they don't even put their hands on you. Like I haven't been on a physically violent relationship, but I've definitely been in a mentally manipulative one. And let me tell you, that's just equally as abusive. And I've come to terms with it actually after the fact, years after, like, that was happening. But I didn't realize, because they don't realize it, because they don't, unless they really put a hands on you, is when you start thinking of them also not only hitting you, but like mentally manipulating you and emotionally manipulating you. But when that doesn't happen, we don't really think about it until it gets pointed out to us, where you don't have to put your hands on someone for it to be abusive. You could just hurt. And it's not just hurting someone's feelings, it's actually like more than that. It's going to the extent of hurting someone's feelings. Because we've all hurt our family members' feelings, our friends' feelings. But then you can make up with them. It doesn't mean you're a toxic friend. Unless it goes to that extent, because it's not just in couples, unless it goes to that same extent where it gets actually a little bit like damaging. But we've all hurt our friends, our family members, not even just our spouses. But then you make up, but that's what makes, unless it's not a healthy relationship though, where it gets to an extent where they don't even care that they've hurt you, where they say they care, but then they keep continuing the cycle. But then it's not even just the type of hurt where it's like, oh, he just hurt my feelings. Like, no, like he damaged you. He made you feel insecure. Where I don't know how to compare, but it's like a non-toxic friend who might hurt your feelings, might lie to you about like you possibly not being the best singer. And then you got your feelings hurt because they weren't even able to tell you the truth, whatever. That's not really toxic, because they were just trying to, if anything, most likely your friend was trying to spare your feelings and not hurt you and tell you you're a terrible singer. They might end up telling the truth and try to maybe even cushion the blow, or maybe not that bold, but they're still the type to be like, listen, you're just not a good singer, babe. But when they are doing the extent where they're like, you're not a good singer, but it taps more into, they know how much you love singing, but they'll just brutally get into the fact where you're not talented at all, you're not good at anything, plus you're fat, plus you're ugly, I don't even know I'm with you, but I'm with you. I don't make any sense, but you are so ugly, even though I don't want you to be with anybody else, and you're my property. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy. That's where it gets a little too excessive, because then it's like, okay, you could have just said I wasn't good. But even then, it gets excessive, because it's one thing that your friend, who's just a regular friend who's not toxic, doesn't want you to try out for the school play because you're a bad singer. But there's only so much she can do. She'll be like, but I support you. But then you have someone who's manipulating you, where it's like, no, you're not a good singer. Like, I really don't want you to humiliate yourself. So, like, you're not gonna run. You're not auditioning for the school play. Like, they would force you. They're like, you wanna... And then if you do it anyways, they would try to be like, okay, but don't come to me whenever you feel humiliated or people say that you suck. I told you so. Like, at least your friend would be like, look, I told you, but you know what? Just keep that in mind, because I don't want you to be humiliated, but you can still go and do whatever, because I'm not stopping you from doing whatever you want. A person would actually tell you what you can or cannot do. Whereas a friend might suggest, but they're not going to force you. So, yeah. That's the end of that. So, you know, that I bring awareness to this with two of my favorite songs. about toxic relationships in the music videos are really great. One of them is like a comic, like superhero thing, which is like Ava Max's, and then the other one's like really showing how a toxic relationship is. And I think it was Megan Fox who was the girl who was also being abusive to her boyfriend, because it's not always. Sometimes it's like one person being, but sometimes it's both people damaging each other. Either way, no one deserves to be treated. No one should have to be treated like that from you. And if you're that person, you need to go get help. And if they're that person, they need to go get help. If they really care, they'll stop their relationship with you until they can fix their attitude and really fix the way that they are. Otherwise, they're not willing to do that, or if they're in denial, or if they, not even denial, they know what they're doing is wrong, like, it's time to let him go. So, yeah. Anyways, that's all for today. And bye.